Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes.
And I'm Simon Mann.
There is a metaphorical fag paper between the teams, England and India, after 3 days of this Lord's Test match in stifling conditions. Amazing, isn't it? I mean, how many times has that happened that both teams have finished on the same score? You probably know the answer to that, don't you?
I do know the answer to that. It's 9 times. And the last time it happened was an England-New Zealand Test match at Headingley in the mid-2010s. I think it was 2015, 2016, something like that, when both sides scored 350 in the first innings and England went on to lose the match. So they're 2 runs ahead, which actually, with an hour's play left, if you said to them you'll be 2 runs ahead with 10 second innings wickets in hand, they would have taken, because that was a mighty tough day. And this has been a real arm wrestle of a test match on a sluggish pitch. Just a bit there, it's hard to score, and both teams have gone really hard at it. It's been a difficult game, I think, for both sides. It's had a maximum effort. You cannot fault the 2 teams for effort. Are we in for a belting last 2 days? Well, we could be. What do the Betfair odds say about where the game is?
Well, the Betfair odds at the start of play were very much England just marginally ahead. But they've switched a little bit now to India being marginally ahead. England 34% chance of victory, India 36%, and the draw 30%. So basically, they don't know.
Actually, I agree with that. When the percentages are like that, it's like, we're not sure where this game is going, and that actually makes for a really fascinating last 2 days. I don't think it's been a really fascinating first 3 days, do you? Because I think it's been too frustrating, and we'll talk a bit later about the onerous nature of playing back-to-back test matches. But the pitch is sluggish. It's just damn hard work, isn't it? And it's been like that for 3 days. And look, in the normal run of things, if this game was being played 25 years ago, say, or 30 years ago, when we even longer than ago, when we started watching Test cricket, and well beyond that, you'd think draw, wouldn't you? You'd think this game is going to end in the draw. The pitch is going to be the winner. Neither side is going to be able to force the issue. But these 2 teams, Jasprit Bumrah, running in tomorrow morning, the way England like to play and advance the game, possibilities, and it's what makes this game so fascinating. And of course, we all know, don't we, that games can speed up. This has been slow with occasional high points, but we know the game can speed up.
It's like a stew, isn't it? That's boiling and bubbling away, but only simmering. Yeah. And hopefully it'll bubble over and be very exciting in the next couple of days and be very tasty. I actually did a piece in the Sunday Times today talking about the fact that that pitch is a bowl for run-outs pitch. And there was a few times in my sad career when I was told to bowl for run-outs because we just weren't getting any wickets, or I wasn't.
How do you bowl for a run-out? How does that actually work?
Well, firstly, you have to resign yourself to the fact that you're not going to get a bowl on LBW and it's not going to carry the slip. So then, as this pitch is probably a little bit typical of, then what you do is you put fielders in strange positions, right, unexpected positions. You force batsmen into taking risky singles. You might encourage them to back up a little bit, and you prime a couple of fielders to look a bit lazy and look a little bit sort of on their heels, and then jump on the chance. Right. Ben Stokes today, not saying he was looking lazy or on his heels, but he was in a slightly unconventional position. He set these strange fields today, a couple of cover points very close together, and 9 men or 7 men on the leg side, 2 on the offside, and all in slightly kind of unusual, unorthodox positions. Pant set off for a single, not looking like in any trouble at all, apart from Ricking sort of having a hernia, playing one of his amazing shots. He did a reverse pull today, didn't he? And I thought the time,
a reverse sweep of Chris Wokes he played.
No, he played it well. It was a short ball, and he switched from being left-handed to right-handed and actually pulled it round behind square on the offside.
A sort of
reverse pull. But what was interesting actually was during the day, particularly when Wokes was bowling, Jamie Smith stood up to the stumps, but not all the time. Pant was batting out of his crease. Smith came up to the stumps. Pant went back in his crease. Smith went back. Pant came out of his crease again. And it was quite interesting sort of for the connoisseur, I suppose, to see that little bit of duel going on. But anyway, I mean, he played brilliantly, and he never looked like getting out until that slightly risky single, hesitant, a little bit as he set off, slightly hesitant. And Rahul wasn't sure because he was on, 98 at the time, so he probably, I don't want to get run out, so he was sort of a little bit on his heels as well. Stokes pounced, hurled down the stumps, ran out, Pant from 4 centimetres. that's bowling for run-outs.
Yeah, well, it also helps as well if a batter's close to 100, because you know they might try and pinch a quick single. The point being, it was the last over before lunch, so could he get his 100 before lunch? I saw lots of comment on social media. Joe Root waited a whole night to get his 100. Pant and Rahul couldn't wait 40 minutes, to get Rahul through to his 100. Let these things happen in cricket, don't they? These strange little games within a game where those personal milestones take over and engulf the game for a bit, and it cost India, potentially quite dearly. They could have got a first innings lead of, who knows, they might have got 50, 100 first innings lead if those two had been able to continue, because and also the 100 in a way you might think contributed to KL Rahul's dismissal as well, whether it was just a slight loss of concentration after he got to 100. So,
well, there was also actually quite a clever bit of field placing for the 100 after Rahul had got his 100, because he had been turning Bashir around the corner and they posted a leg slip, and he then tried to drive it sort of against the spin a little bit through the offside and got an edge to slip. So quite a good bit of thinking there by England. But in the main, even in the afternoon session, the closest thing England got to wickets, apart from the Rahul's wicket, was run-outs again, with Jadeja and Kumar Reddy sort of setting off and stopping. Jadeja's a hard person to bat with, I think, because he wants to run every time, and he sets off, and the other person thinks he's running, and then he stops. And he's trying to tease fielders into shying at the stumps, I think, but it puts the other batter, the non-striker, on tenterhooks as well.
Yeah, what he kind of does is he backs up when he's batting. How you kind of walk through as a non-striker. He almost does that when he's batting, because he plays it out and he's like thinking, well, can I get a run here? Can we go through? I can, because I'm quick. But yeah, it probably does sell your non-striking partner a bit short sometimes. I think England had about 4 run-out opportunities in the afternoon. Legitimate run-out opportunities. Ollie Pope missed 2 of them. Bryden Carse missed 1. In fact, Ollie Pope missed 3. Bryden Carse
not
missed
realising he had more time.
Well, on one of them, the most straightforward one is when if he just looked up, he would have seen Reddy miles out of his ground. Okay, he doesn't guarantee hitting the stumps, but when you just set yourself, you've got a bit more time, haven't you? If you throw off balance, knowing you just got to take them. It all happens so quickly, doesn't it? But sometimes if you just set yourself up half a second, you can affect a run out. But then of course Ben Stokes didn't do that, did he? And he probably couldn't set himself a half a second. It had to be pick up, turn, throw, hit the stumps to run out Rishabh Pant. It was a dramatic moment in the game, and it again comes back to what we were saying yesterday, kind of real dramatic high points in the day's play. We had those yesterday, and that was a sort of breathtaking moment. It was a superb piece of fielding, and it who knows? It might save England from losing the game. It could set up potentially a victory, because Pant and KL Rahul thought they could have batted for the rest of the day the way they were playing in that morning session. Of course, they probably wouldn't have done, but it had that feeling about it. Shubman Gill made 269 at Edgbaston, so they love it, don't they? They just made triple hundreds. KL Rahul looks absolutely secure, so secure. It was a massive surprise when he got out. So yeah, a big turning point potentially in the day. And then towards the end, a massive boost for England getting all those wickets. To take 4 wickets to 11, okay, we've seen it a bit from India in this series already, where the tail end has collapsed, specifically at Headingley. But I think it gave England a real lift at the start of the day.
Jadeja was a big wicket, wasn't he? Caught down the leg side of Chris Wokes. Wokes bowled decently, actually, without looking that threatening. But just getting that wicket of Jadeja caught down the leg side. Jamie Smith, another excellent day behind the stumps. Took a very good diving catch off for Jadeja down the, diving away to his right there. He stood up to the stumps, as I said, to Chris Wokes. Never looked in trouble at all. Put the batters under pressure a little bit with him being there. Amazing, really. It's ridiculous that he doesn't keep for Surrey, isn't it? But of course they have Ben Folkes. It's another of those sort of weird anomalies that this England team are, in a way. So Jadeja getting out, having played, very solidly, and the odd dramatic shot. Again, his innings was like the match overall. Block, 6. block, few nurdles, few little slices. Another big shot. I think it's that kind of pitch which sort of doesn't really encourage elaborate stroke play. You just want to get stuck in and occasionally hit an aggressive shot. It doesn't encourage trying to take the bowlers on and trying to dominate, because you can't time the ball consistently, and you don't want to give it away as well. It's such an easy pitch to stay in on that you don't want to take any sort of unnecessary risks.
So what do we have today? I made it. This is roughly right. I think 244 runs and 7 wickets, and we were 10 overs short as well. So in about 80 overs, something like that. So that really speaks to attritional cricket and hard work for everyone. Batters, bowlers, a team like India trying to just inch their way close to England, and then they were hoping to get a lead of 40, 50, something like that, perhaps even more. It wasn't to be for them, and it fluctuated towards England at the end of the day's play. Although the odds suggest that India are just marginally ahead, and the reason for that is because of third innings pressure and the Jasprit Bumrah factor. That you just have that feeling that if he has one of those spells in him on the fourth day, then India, they might only be chasing, say, 200 to win in the final innings. I mean, the other thing as well, we talk about, this is going to go the distance, it's bound to be a 5-day test match, only if England bat well. And if England were rolled out tomorrow, who knows, India might be close to victory by the close of play tomorrow. So, it's such a big day in the series on this fourth day. How do England approach it? I mean, they did show on the first day they were prepared to adapt. So do you think that they're going to have to play really cannily tomorrow? I mean, normally if this is a normal England side, normal test match in what we've seen in the last 3 years, they would go hard tomorrow, wouldn't they? But is that the right way to go on this service? Can they do that without a massive degree of risk?
Well, funnily enough, I think it's a sort of pitch where if you try and hit on the up, you could drag it on. It's a bit slow off the pitch. It means if you try and hit on the up, if you try and hit a ball which isn't a half volley, it might just arrive a bit slower than you expect, and you get a bottom edge or an inside edge, and it goes onto the stump. So I think they do have to be careful. I mean, Joe Root will be fine. He plays the ball late anyway. There was a masterclass today by Kane Williamson, actually, at the back of the ground here, talking about the art of batting. Do you know, he said, I try and hit the top of the ball. I try and hit the top of the ball. I mean, I'm just trying to see the ball and trying to hit it vaguely, trying to get somewhere near it. Yeah. He's thinking the top of the ball. And I've talked to other batters like Ricky Ponting and other star players. Desmond Hayes was another one, actually. They can see the writing on the ball. They say, I look at the writing on the ball to see which side the writing is and things. From 22 yards away, impossible. I can barely see the bowler. That's
a really interesting thing. I was trying to think, whenever I played in club cricket or practice, what I was trying to do, I think I was trying to hit the middle of the ball.
Well, yeah.
Hit the middle of the ball with the middle of the bat. That was in my head. But you're saying trying to hit the top of the ball. Is that to keep it down?
Yes.
To get right over it the whole time, so you're tapping it if you're cutting it, and if you're pulling it, you're getting right on top of it. What about if you're driving it? I suppose you're getting the angle of the bat, so it's... he loves the angle of the bat. He loves the bat at a sort of 45-degree angle. So I can see that.
Even if he edges, that it tends to go down. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, we're getting off the subject slightly.
No, but it's an interesting subject,
I think England do have to play with a certain degree of application, at least, without being cautious, and be sensible, because there are runs there. It'll be the new ball that again poses the danger, and obviously Bumrah. If they can get through that and just get stuck into knuckling down. I mean, Root, he just played a solid innings. He didn't flow boundaries or anything particular. Actually, it's interesting that both sides, their top 7 have all got into double figures in both innings. So it shows you can get in. It's not a wicket where you're going to suddenly get an unplayable delivery, but you've got to concentrate hard and accumulate, probably.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be a real test of England's sort of application to it. Look, if you've played for 3 days like this, because it has been a real tough battle out there. If you've done that for 3 days, you don't want to give it away, do you? You really want to try and nail it down on the fourth day. There's nothing wrong. I mean, we said this after a few days at Edgbaston. There's nothing wrong with drawing a test match if you can't win it. There's nothing wrong with going to Old Trafford 1-1. Look, if England do apply themselves and they do get some runs on board, they will have a chance on that final day to have a go at India. They'll have some. If they do, say get 350, they'll have a chance, won't they, on that final day? It might not be. They might not have bags of overs.
The run rate at the moment in the game is about 3.4. So if they get 80 overs tomorrow, or 80 plus 2 or something, 82 overs, what's that? 250, 260,
well,
270.
That's not going to be enough, is it? They'll have to bat on the 5th day, and they might declare, look, we're pushing ahead here. They might be bowled out, but they might say, well, look, we're back till half an hour before lunch, and see if they can do to India what India did to them in the last time these two teams played at Lord's, where it looked as if England were going to win the game going into the final day. And India got a last ninth wicket partnership.
Bumrah
and Mohammad Shami, and they had about 270 on the board. Could England chase that? No, because India just came out, fired up. Virat Kohli inspired them, fired up, and they knocked England over on the final day. And so there's third innings pressure, but there's also final day pressure as well.
And one little thing to add to that, Shoaib Bashir got an injury today, trying to take a caught and bowled, trying to stop a hard drive. Looks like he dislocated a finger on his left hand. He didn't return to the field.
I think it's the little finger on his left hand.
So can he? He should be able to bowl, actually. Maybe not able to bat, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And he could be quite a key figure towards the end of the match. So that's a neat lead in from talking about resilience and resourcefulness to our Betfair exchange today, which is, should there be back-to-back test matches in these 5 test series? I mean, maybe it's okay for a 3 test series because there's plenty of time to recover after, but a 5 test series with back-to-back tests, it just looks, especially on pitches like this, these sort of pancake pitches, feather beds, where bowlers have got to bowl over after over. And Jofra Archer in this innings, 23 overs, I think. The other seamers the same. That's just one innings. They've got to do it again in a couple of days. Batters sticking out, batting all day. It takes it out of you hugely, physically and mentally. So, what do you think?
Well, I think in an ideal world you wouldn't have them. But the schedules are tight, aren't they? That's the problem. And you look at this English summer, India have come from the IPL, there was the World Test Championship final, 5 test series, then there's the 100. It's all about planning the summer, and it's not easy to have that time and space for players to recover. I don't think it's kind of really fair on the players to have just 3 days between test matches. I think you want more than that. Look, it's been accentuated this summer, I think, because of the flatness of the pitches and because of the weather. And so what we've had so far, because of the flatness of the pitches, we've had 2 5-day test matches. Edgbaston went to 5:10 on the final day. 3 days later, you're playing in roasting hot conditions at Lords. That doesn't happen every summer. In 5 test series, I think you certainly want an extra day or 2, wouldn't you? Like 4 or 5 days between test matches?
You're absolutely right. I mean, Ian Holland, the Leicestershire player, former Hampshire player, who's done a lot of bowling this year, was one of the leading wicket takers in the second division until they had a pause for 4-day cricket. And he was saying that even he, and he bowls in a military medium pace, I want 5 days off after a 4-day game. Yeah. So that shows really a week between 5-day games is the minimum. Of course, players, they like short tours, don't they? Because they're not away from home for too long and they can get it all done. And I guess you can rotate your bowlers, you can bring in new players. But it seems a bit kind of, you don't want to see a test match with substitute players because someone's knackered, do you? You want to see, test cricket is about the best players, a test of your nation's strength against theirs.
Yeah, and it's worth saying for our younger listeners that when we first started watching test cricket, that
in 1940,
well, was it earlier? It was earlier than that, was it? No, say in the 1970s. What would happen?
Well, I came here in 1973. Actually,
right.
First test, I was sat behind the camera here in the Edrich stand, the Compton stand, watching West Indies England 1973. Yeah. So it is 50 years since I've been coming here. That's a terrible thing to admit.
Yeah, but you started watching Young Yoz, didn't you, when you were about 30? So look. The point being is when those tours were on, okay, sometimes you'd have 2 countries over for a summer, but when those West Indies tours were on or the Australia tour was on, they would be here for the whole summer, wouldn't they? They play 4 months, and so you had that sense of building up to a test match. You'd have that break and they'd go and play a couple of county games and then they would have the test match, and so it felt each test match felt special as well. This one has felt, I don't know, it's been a strange game. I think it's because of the cricket. The cricket's felt a little bit humdrum. Great crowd, great weather, not a great pitch really for exciting cricket. So it's felt a little bit flat as a result. I don't know whether that's because of the back-to-back nature of the games. It has been.
It's partly that.
So it has
been
been
so
intense.
If you think about 20 years. Sorry, yes, 20 years ago. 20 years ago. The equivalent test match here, England-Australia, 2005 Ashes, and there'd been a huge build-up to it. And both teams were like a pair of boxers that had been chained up in their corners for 2 or 3 months, being let loose and absolutely hammering each other. And in the first session of play that day, about 4 people were clanged on the helmet, and Simon Jones took a wicket with his first ball. I've been looking back at it actually recently because we're making this 6-part series about the 2005 Ashes.
We've made a 6-part series.
It's about to be released next week. Look out for it. But that series was, well, there was a back-to-back test actually in that series, but the first test was so exciting because the build-up had been so massive, and they just don't have the chance now to really build up to individual test matches quite the same way as they did then.
Yeah, I've actually looked back at a few tours, but the other thing as well, of course, is what did happen is that you might play a test match, but then you play some county games, so there was still a lot of cricket, so there wasn't actually that much downtime for the touring teams. There's probably more downtime for the home teams, although they would go back and play county cricket, didn't they? I mean,
they do, but it was less intense.
Yeah.
It was more sort of festival type cricket at times, and it was a little bit more relaxing than playing a test match and then another test match.
Yeah, that's true. And what you would have is, you would play a test and then you would go and play for your county in perhaps a quarter final. That would be an intense day as well, wouldn't it? You would drive from Headingley to go play at Taunton for Somerset, say, and both of them might do that.
That was fun as well. I mean, there was pressure on the star players to perform, but it was enjoyable as well. And I don't know, it was the sort of, it felt like the kind of amateur part of the game a little bit. So although it was professional, it was on TV, it was slightly more down. It was a slightly more relaxed environment. So actually, talking of the tension and lack of tension in this game, of course, we came to the end of the day, and a lot of the journalists up in the media centre were sort of casting around for a good topic today. What do we talk about? What do we write about? What's the theme with both teams in exactly the same score? And actually that last over gave them about 500 words of copy, didn't it? Because England just loitered to come out. They knew they had 6 minutes of cricket. They knew they had to face Bumrah and potentially a second over, and they just used every trick in the book to make sure that they only faced 6 balls. And of course the Indians got absolutely apoplectic about it, and they were kind of coming round, surrounding Crawley every time he pulled away from the crease and made Bumrah wait and wringed his hands with an apparent slight bang on them and so on. I mean, absolute masterclass in how to enable an over to last about 8 minutes.
Yeah, well, it was utterly cynical, wasn't it? And it was job done, because they only had to face the one over. I thought if Crawley had been out off the last ball, he would have looked pretty daft, but he did his job. He survived the over. It was gamesmanship. It didn't look particularly good. There was one point where Shubman and Gill got involved. I think Crawley was making the point well, what about yesterday when you were down for 7 minutes on the field receiving treatment? What about that? That was time wasting as well. Look, they're both as bad as one another, and when they are locking horns like this in this intense contest, this great arm wrestle that we've seen in this series and in this test match as well, no one wants to sort of give an inch, do they? And it's not been very edifying at times. I think it's not. I don't think it's been a great game, but it could be a great game. It's not been a great game so far. I think it's just been too many stoppages for so many different things. The umpires can't seem to get the game moving. I mean, the thing is, the umpires should get the game moving. There, should tell them to get on with it. What can they do? You can't.
What penalty can they issue a batsman?
Well, exactly. I mean, you can't. You'd actually physically escort Zach Crawley to the crease and make him stand there. You can't do that, can you?
They could have made them bowl the extra over.
Well, but then England would say, well, look, it's top of 6. It's not in the regulations.
In football, they add on time.
Yeah, but they do add on time. They added on half an hour, and to 6:30. It's supposed to finish at 6 o'clock.
The famous saying, Parkinson's law, work expands to fit the time allowed for its completion. England and most teams actually apply that to the letter.
Yeah, we were talking in the box. Of course, it's the hot topic. We've been talking about it not all day, but off air a bit as well. And Michael Vaughan was saying, look, if you just say on the final day we'll have 90 overs, won't we? They have to bowl the overs on the last day. He said, why can't we just go back to that being the case on the first 4 days? And he said the point being, of course, is if the players had to bowl 90 overs before they get off the field, they just would move quicker, because they don't want to be out here till 8 o'clock, 8:30, or whatever it would take to bowl the overs. I mean, yesterday, 6:30, still 15 overs left. I mean, we might well have been here to 10 to 8. And in the past, I think there have been some very late finishes in the past, and I don't think that suited television companies. They wanted to know exactly what the hours of play were, and that's why it was changed. It used to be you had to bowl the overs. When they stipulated you have to bowl a certain number of overs in the day, that's what we used to do, and play would go on quite into the evening. So Michael might be right, but it may be the game just drifts into the evening, and we'll be doing this podcast and finishing this podcast at 9 o'clock rather than 7:25. But it's worth having a think about what we could do to try to get the game moving. But this has just been I don't know why, whether it's just everyone's a little bit tetchy with each other. It's hot. It is intense. We've had back-to-back games. For some reason, this game is kind of not totally worked as a game of cricket. It's been an itchy and scratchy sort of test match, really.
And I think I'm being bitten by a mosquito, so I'm definitely itchy and scratchy. Just to finish, actually, obviously Lord's Test is also a great social occasion, lots of interesting people here, lots of ex-cricketers here. And I was with Alan Lamb today, Alan Lamb, the fantastic Northampton England batter from the 1980s, who scored many hundreds against the West Indies, actually. He loved facing those fast West Indies bowlers. Anyway, I just love the fact that I remember playing against him here a few times, and he always destroyed me, he was all terrible. Anyway, I saw him today, and he said, I used to really hate facing you.
Really?
He said, the last time I faced you at Lord's on a flat pitch, he said, you were bowling those outswingers, you were bowling those in-swingers, you were bowling those slab balls, you were bowling those bouncers. He said, I couldn't lay a bet on you. And I looked up the match. He got 159. Ever the self-deprecating type, Lammy, brilliant player anyway. Lovely man to watch, actually, very funny, good storyteller. But I hated bowling to him.
Was he just flattering you then? Was he? Was he? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I love watching him as well. He was a wonderful player, wasn't he?
Oh, brilliant.
And because he was one of the first England players I can remember who consistently took on the West Indies and did well against them, and because they were so difficult to play against. So actually, someone who could go out there and fight fire with fire, it was fascinating to watch him.
So we'll recap the game anyway with the Betfair odds, which say that with 2 days to go, England are 9-5 to win, the draw is 2-1, and India 6-4. So India slight favourites to win with 2 days to go. Also highest England score in their second innings, 13-2, could be Jamie Smith. What an amazing series he's had so far. He's averaging 135 in the 3 tests. Amazing, isn't it? And no one can get him out. Harry Brook 4-1 to be England's leading scorer. I quite like that, actually. 4-1 for Harry Brook. I think he didn't get that too many in the first innings. I think he'll enjoy the second innings. He took a blinding catch tonight as well, didn't he? Fantastic. He took 2 catches. Well, he took a brilliant bit of field setting at the end, that last wicket. Washington Sundar having a big slog at Jofra Archer, caught a fly slip right on the boundary almost, right behind the keeper, wasn't it?
He wasn't even fly slip. I'd call that long stop, wasn't it?
Long stop, yes.
Was it back stop he used to call that in the old days? He was directly behind the keeper, and it came straight to him, and he pounched it, no trouble at all. I don't think I can remember someone caught a long stop. We used to have
Brendan McCullum, I think, was out that way, and the Aussies, when he scored the fastest 100 in Test cricket, which I think was his last Test, the Aussies had a long stop for him then as well, because he was slighting the bowlers over the top. But anyway, inventive field settings from Stokes again.
You normally used to have a long stop when you were playing primary school cricket because the wicketkeeper was rubbish.
Stop it,
you couldn't stop it, but that's not the case with Jamie Smith.
No, mate, fantastic. So 4-1 for 13-2 for Jamie Smith to be top scorer for England, and 4-1 Harry Brook. Anyway, it's all set up beautifully, isn't it? And great weather as well for the next 2 days, so it's going to be a hard one to call.
Yeah, let's hope the last 2 days are more scintillating, thrilling than the first 3 days. But you're right, it is set up. I wouldn't like to predict where this game is going to go, but I think England really need to see off, well, it's an obvious thing to say, see off Jasprit Bumrah tomorrow.
Yes. So don't miss it. Wake up early, make sure you tune in at 11 o'clock in the morning for tomorrow's play, and don't forget, if you want to bet, you must be 18 or over, and please gamble responsibly. Those odds are correct at the time we're recording, around about 7:30 tonight.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. Goodbye for now. We can't wait for the 4th day. We might stay here all night, actually. Can't go home and miss a minute of the atmosphere of Lord's.